Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Bean Boys here. This is our very first video on the channel. Now the goal of this channel is to take a look at the gaming industry as a whole, but specifically esports, which brings me to the big question on everybody's mind as we enter the holiday season. Who is going to be the big players in the Battle Royale market? Fortnite is currently destroying PUBG, but with Blackops coming out on October 12th and Battlefield on November 20th, things might look very different in the Battle Royale world very soon. Which brings us to the main question. Can Blackout kill Fortnite? Right now the two big players are Fortnite and PUBG. PUBG caters to the hardcore market, but its long game lengths and boring meta have held it back from holding its own against Fortnite. It also being completely unplayable on console has really hurt it too. Fortnite, on the other hand, is incredibly optimized and features one of the most unique and technical features out of any Battle Royale game, and that is of course its building. But what holds it back most is that it has a bit of an image problem right now as being a game just for children, and its constantly changing meta has left some longtime fans looking for a new game. And that game could be Call of Duty. Now, Call of Duty Blackout is a realistic military shooter geared towards a more mature audience, and it runs fantastic on console. The games are played at a much higher pace than PUBG's, and it only takes around 20 to 25 minutes to complete a match, which is much more comparable to Fortnite than PUBG, and it's something that has made it way more playable to your casual fans. Now, a big argument against Blackout overtaking Fortnite is of course its price. Call of Duty Black Ops is not free to play like Fortnite is, and while this was a huge factor in the PUBG versus Fortnite debate, given that they were both new IPs, it doesn't really matter in this case. Now, for those of you who don't know what a new IP is, it is essentially the first game in a series. So for a game like Fortnite that involved a bunch of cartoon characters running around building structures out of midair, it was very important that a game like that was free to play in order to make it to the mainstream audience. Now, a game like Call of Duty, on the other hand, is already an established brand. And considering that the worst selling Black Ops game of all time, which was Black Ops 3, sold 26.5 million copies, I don't think that pricing will be that big of an issue. And not only is it already an established brand, but its game mechanics are as crisp as ever. And anybody who has played a Call of Duty game in the past should be able to pick up Blackout and succeed. The only real addition to the game is its vehicles. And I'll be completely honest, when I first heard that Call of Duty was introducing vehicles into its Battle Royale mode, I was incredibly skeptical. I was not sure how they were going to properly balance it. And I didn't want this sort of meta to play out where whoever had a helicopter or an ATV or a boat at the end of the game essentially won. I didn't want it to kind of be how H1Z1 used to be, where it was a bunch of people flying in helicopters and jumping and attacking each other. And I could not have been more wrong because the vehicles, even just for the beta, were incredibly balanced. The fact that none of them really had any offensive capability really added to the game because they were essentially just used for mobility, and it worked fantastic. You could get around the entire map on an ATV or a helicopter extremely quickly. And this once again just added to the pacing of the game, which I thought was really strong. And vehicles aren't the only thing that were well balanced in this game. One of the biggest concerns coming into Black Ops was that the weapons would be overpowered, which is fairly standard in most betas. However, after playing the game, nothing really stood out to me as far as being overpowered. The weapons were great. Obviously, some weapons tended to be stronger than others. Off the top of my head, the Vapor and Auger come to mind. But overall, the game did a very good job at balancing the weapons. One thing that I really loved was the whole zombie and zombie boss aspect of the Blackout Battle Royale. It reminded me a lot of the MOBA genre, games like League of Legends and Dota 2. They have this really cool feature that allows you to go out and attack NPC characters to get resources for your team, and it adds a whole variety of different strategies. Now, zombies work kind of the same way in Blackout. If your squad is running low on resources like armor, ammo, and weapons, you have the ability to risk your life and go to these zombie locations, kill these zombies, and hope that they give you what your team needs. It adds a really unique strategy to the game where you and your squad mates can go risk your lives to attack these zombies in order to get the reward of the loot that you really want. And this valuable loot can be the difference between getting that victory royale and not. Now this could be risky because it does give your position away, so you can be third-partied more easily. It uses up a lot of resources yourself killing these zombies, and there's no guarantee that you will get the loot that you really want. But this is the decision that your squad is going to have to make. Now, another thing that Blackout does very well is the implementation of kill cams. This has been something that the Fortnite community has been asking for a long time. Kill cams have long been a part of Call of Duty, and it's really nice to see them implement this into Blackout. Now, for those of you who don't know, once your entire squad has been wiped out, Black Ops offers you the ability to go back and watch how you were killed via the kill cam. While the system was pretty basic in the beta, Treyarch has already talked about updating it so that when you get to watch the kill cam, you get to see how much armor and health your opponent had when they killed you. Now, this isn't going to be the reason that you stop playing Fortnite and start playing Black Ops, but I think it's really cool to see because this has been something that the Fortnite community has been asking for a long time, and it's already in Black Ops. At the end of the day, it's just a really cool feature to have, and it offers you great feedback to allow yourself to improve as a player. It also gives you a very good excuse when you die because you get to complain about how much armor they had. With that being said, Epic is known for listening to its community and being quick to address issues by constantly putting out weekly updates and adding new limited time modes. The good news is Treyarch is already doing the same thing. Within the week-long beta, there was an update almost every day, and they were constantly responding to the community feedback. They already featured 2 different limited time modes and showed off the zombie boss. Not only that, but they also changed the maximum amount of players that could be in one match at one time. Now, most of you already know, but when the beta started, it only had a maximum of 80 players per match. Then, after a few days, they changed it to 88, and by the end of the beta, it had 100. I like this because not only did changing it to 100 help improve the pace of the game overall, but I like that they aren't sticking to this all Battle Royale games must have 100 players formula that the competition seems to be stuck on. They already said the goal is to get Blackout at 115 players. They just want to take it slow to ensure that gameplay doesn't suffer because of it. The community involvement that Treyarch has already shown so early in the game's life cycle is incredible, and I really hope they keep it up. And it's not just community involvement that Treyarch is excelling at. I really enjoy the way Treyarch is handling the whole stats situation. It's so refreshing to have all your KD and accuracy all tracked right there in the main hub. Not having to rely on a third-party site to figure out this information is a great sign, and it's going to make esports a much more spectator-friendly event. Being able to show Shroud's KD and accuracy should be great for the competitive scene. It can open up the door for a lot of very cool analytics somewhere down the line. Finally, Black Ops has already announced that they have a massive reward plan for reaching max level in Black Ops, and it's about time. It has never made any sense to me why Fortnite hasn't implemented this. It legitimately boggles my mind that you get absolutely nothing for reaching max level in that game. As soon as I get to tier 100 in the battle pass, which is usually around week 7, I have no more incentive to play that game anymore. And I am so excited that Treyarch has decided to take this approach and reward players for reaching max level. And I can't wait to see what reward they have in store for us. Now, with all of that being said, it's not all sunshine and roses. Black Ops definitely has its problems that need to be addressed. The 2 biggest problems it has are its armor and its sound, and even though it has been mentioned countless times before and Treyarch has already said that they're working on it, I can't not talk about it. Armor was simply too powerful. If your opponent started a firefight and they had more armor than you did, you lose. Unless you're some god, which most of us aren't, you just automatically lost simply because you didn't have enough armor. Because this is Black Ops and you can't just build a wall in front of your face and reset the fight, making sure that armor was properly balanced is extremely important for the future success of this game. I mean, imagine how tournaments will be if nobody engages in fights because they don't want to lose their armor. Now, sound was the biggest issue for me. I had a really hard time hearing where people were. I constantly found myself being flanked without hearing a single footstep, and it's hard to tell if this was a situation where a player had dead silence on or if the audio was really that bad. It seems to be an issue because Treyarch has already talked about working on this before the full game is released. Speaking of dead silence, in general the perks seem to be a little bit unbalanced. Now, I know they have received a lot of praise from the community, but I don't think that Treyarch has worked out all the kinks just yet. Considering footsteps are really the only way to tell if you're being flanked in this game, having a perk that makes your footsteps silent to your opponents is way too overpowered. The last thing I want to see is for a top tier player in a tournament die early because somebody else found dead silence early game and they didn't. It just adds an element of randomness to the game, which is never what you want to see in a competitive esport. Obviously, the perk system can work if it's properly balanced, like Looter for example. However, this is going to be a very difficult task for Treyarch, and I'm curious to see how it goes. The last issue Treyarch needs to address is how quickly you can revive someone. You could pick up your fallen teammates very quickly in Black Ops, and this devalues getting the knock because by the time you actually push the squad, that person has already been revived and is now firing back at you like nothing happened. I like that it has a quicker revive than Fortnite's 10 seconds, but I think that making the revive take a little bit longer will give the player more of an incentive for getting the down. Now that we have looked at both the pros and cons of the beta, let's take a look at Call of Duty's possible mainstream success. One of the things that catapulted Fortnite's success is its popularity on websites such as YouTube and Twitch. So when the Black Ops beta came out, it was very important for us to look at how popular it was on Twitch. If you take a look at this graph, you can see that it destroys Fortnite in terms of views when it first got released on the PS4 on September 10th and PC on September 14th. But what is even more interesting is that it continued to bring in more views than Fortnite consistently until the beta closed on September 17th. This just goes to show how powerful the Call of Duty brand is. It already has an established and popular group of professional players such as Nadeshot, Scump, and Karma, and an established esports scene with an incredible company to back it up. This is further exemplified by the fact that Treyarch is already putting together tournaments. This can go a long way to ensuring that Blackout remains popular for a long time. While I don't think this game is going to kill Fortnite, Fortnite will still remain popular after this game comes out, but with the positivity the beta has received, combined with the fact that its biggest competitor, Battlefield 5, is apparently complete trash, I think this game has a ton of potential and it could seriously wound Fortnite. The potential that this game has is being undervalued currently by the majority of its community, and I don't think that it's out of the question for Black Ops to take over Fortnite in terms of views. Because this isn't just a Call of Duty Battle Royale game. The Black Ops series is the most successful Call of Duty series to date, selling over 86 million copies. This isn't Call of Duty World War II Battle Royale. This isn't Call of Duty Ghost Battle Royale. This is Blackout.